Well, hello, Del, and welcome to INXS Access All Areas. Thank you for your time today. Wow, I feel like I'm talking to Michael. So how long has this been going on? Since 2018, you started with the Australian, what is it? The Australian INXS show. Is that right?
Correct. Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, I actually was first approached by them in probably 2016, I think. And at the time, it just wasn't a good fit. I was doing a lot more touring with my own music, and then they recontacted me again in 2017, and I did a fill-in show for them. And then that kind of one thing led to another, and we started booking more shows, and I started doing more fill-ins, and then I kind of took over the full-time gig.
Okay, so there was someone there before you. So how long has the Australian INXS show been going for then?
It's been going for around 10 years, I believe.
Okay.
So to my knowledge, there were two singers. So the first singer that started it, and then he left, and the guitarist, who is the only original member of this show, left, Rob Moody. He plays the Kirk Pengilly role. He kept it going. I think he probably was just a bit cranky when the singer left. He was like, man, I just learned sax.
And you've also done a few spots as John Bon Jovi as well. I think I've seen before now. Yeah, I can see that too. You were like an amalgamation of both of them, aren't you, Michael and John? I can tell.
Well, when we used to do a bit of work on the cruise ships, on the bigger cruise ships, and because people obviously would see you perform, and we created the Bon Jovi show because the INXS show did so well that Royal Caribbean were like, we want you back, but we can't keep having you back as INXS. What else do you like? So they would get us on board, and we'd sort of do the first half as INXS and the second half as Bon Jovi. And so people used to just yell out, "Hey, Michael, John, whatever your name is."
Fantastic. Okay, so what is your background? Is it from music or is it from acting, or is it a bit of both?
It's a bit of both. Yeah, I grew up singing in church, in a cappella churches. So singing's always been a part of my life. But I guess I viewed music more as a hobby. And then in university, I went to the US for university, and that's where I discovered my passion for acting. And that led to LA, and I did a few years in LA. And then hit 25, and I thought that I had made it. So I'd come home, and I came back to Sydney, and that was when after a couple of years, I decided I still needed to perform, and that was when I got into music properly, I guess.
But home birth-wise is Tasmania, is that right?
It's actually Seattle in the US,
Oh,
but I grew up in Tasmania. Yeah, so I was born. We moved to Australia when I would have been 3. So my first memories are from Australia.
okay. So I don't know how old you are, but were you around in Seattle around the grunge era then?
Well, I mean, I was not around then, but I would actually already moved to Australia. So I like to. One of my favorite bands is Soundgarden, and I like to pretend that me leaving Seattle is what caused them to fall.
I like it. Of course it was. Of course it was. And you've actually been in a few dramas. And did I see The Elephant Man?
Yes.
Cool. I mean, that would be fun. So that was back in the States, was it?
Yeah, in the US. Yeah. So through university, and even when I went out to Los Angeles, I did quite a lot of theater initially. And got to play in a lot of really cool theater productions, both musicals and just straight theater.
Yes.
And then I did a couple of spots for some TV shows, Criminal Minds, Cold Case, The OC. And then a couple of modeling jobs, but nothing. I didn't get anything that was regular enough to kind of pay the bills.
Yeah, but your passion now is music, I see. So you've got a new album out as well, haven't you? Is that Blood?
It is called Blood. Yes, yep. It's so it's my second solo record.
I loved the first one, by the way. Loved the first one. I've got to get into the second one, but I loved the first one. So this one, I did see that He says it's a wild, passionate, soulful rock and roll from the heart. Well, you got me on all that, so thank you.
It's when you say rock and roll, I mean, people go, well, what is rock and roll? I mean, because, you know, you could be AC/DC is rock and roll, INXS is rock and roll, but then the Beatles are also rock and roll, you know? So it's, sometimes I find it a bit hard trying to define what you do. I feel like, I mean, I just play music that moves me.
Yeah.
But it does, the things that move me generally land somewhere in the rock and roll sphere.
It is more gritty though, your music, isn't it? I would say, personally from listening, I would say it's very American as well, in my ears, compared for me being Aussie English. Yeah, so it's like going back into that sort of John Bon Jovi and Motley Crue. It's got that sort of flavour to it. It's quite fun. Yeah, really good. I
have fun making it, so hopefully people have fun listening to it.
Anyway, this is about INXS, even though we want to talk about you, but it's good to have all that background. So you're running around Australia now, although I should say you've just come back from being an international success as well, haven't you? How many countries did you go to?
I
lost count.
Remember. Yeah, it's been that was something. When I first joined the show, it was it was to be the crew's fill-in, I guess, if you will. And the singer before me couldn't do a lot of shows because he was just sort of doing weekend stuff. And what I came on board, I think I'd maybe done 4 or 5 shows, and then it just exploded. And suddenly we were like playing in India and like Japan, and then Royal Caribbean called and they wanted us to take out, they said we were the number 2 rated band for Royal Caribbean in the whole world. And so they launched a new ship and they wanted the number 1 rated band for the first week and the number 2 rated band for the next week. So and it was crazy because we flew in and here we are, and it's all these people with all these different languages. We're used to playing sort of in the South Pacific mostly, and then suddenly we're doing like India and Japan and like Middle East and stuff like that. Getting off in Hawaii and like, what is going on?
And what was the fan base like? Was it pretty wild? As they like really into the music still?
Yeah, it was. So we learned fairly early on, you know, that on a cruise ship, like people are paid for the cruise, but then the entertainment is all free once you've gotten on board. So they can come and they can watch for a little while, and then they can leave and they can go see a magician or a comedian or whatever. So we worked really hard to make our show something that would capture people so they would stay. We were getting paid the same, but it's just a lot more fun if you have people staying rather than the whole front row just getting up and leaving because they've got a dinner reservation, you know?
Yeah.
So we ended up becoming friends with a lot of the tech staff, and so they would allow us to use the platform. So for Never Tear Us Apart, I would go onto this one platform, and it would rise and spin.
Wow.
Like singing Never Tear Us Apart, rising and spinning, and we would time it so that it would come down, and I would step off the platform, and then Rob would step on and do the sax solo while he was rising and spinning and coming back down.
Amazing.
And it was just like, there'd be these times when you're on stage, and these were in major theaters. Like we played in front of 4,500 people on the ocean.
My God, that's just really tight. It's tight, isn't it? Yeah.
And you're on these stages, and you kind of have to pinch yourself at some points where you go, this is amazing. This is like, it's pretty cool. And to this day, we still have people that come up to us, you know, at shows, and they'll say, we saw you on that one cruise in 2018, you know, going from New Zealand to Bora Bora or wherever it was, you know, like, do you remember? And you're kind of like,
it's all about was I spinning?
Yeah.
That's so cool. Blimey, you must have met so many people, and then people sort of asking for your autograph now as well, I should imagine.
Yeah, and it's crazy. And I had a really cool experience where I met some Michael's hairdresser. So we got off the ship in Darling Harbour, and I was just walking along, and this guy just sort of goes, "Hey, excuse me." And he said, "I wasn't going to say anything to you." And then he goes, "But," and then he just started telling me a story. And he was Michael's hairdresser, and they became close friends. And he said that it was his dad's 80th or 90th or something birthday, and that's why everyone was on board. And the family were like, "Oh, there's an INXS tribute. We should go." And he was like, "No, I'm not going to go see him." And the family went and were like, "No, it's really tasteful. I think you'd really like it." And he ended up coming to the second show. And he said, "I sat there and I stared at you." He goes, "And I picked out all the things that were not Michael. You know, he didn't have a nose ring, and he didn't have those tattoos that you have. And I picked out all these things." And I sat back and I was like, but I still felt like there was something there. And I said to him, I said, "That means a lot to me, man." I said, "Because I'm not trying to be Michael. I know that I'm not Michael, but people have told me that I make them feel the same way. And that when I'm on stage and I'm singing, that I move in similar ways." So I said, for you to sit there, somebody who knew him personally, and tell me that, you know, that there is a vibe. You can tell that it's that to me says that I'm doing the job that I wanted to, because I'm not trying to be him, but I'm hoping that I can help unlock some of those memories that you have of him.
Well, you're doing it for me right now. I'm keeping it together. Now, before we came on air, I don't know if you want to share with the listeners now, but you mentioned about a coffee cup being shattered. Tell the listeners that story, please.
Well, when I moved back to Sydney, I started working in a cafe, and I walked into the cafe, and somebody dropped a coffee cup at the very back of the cafe, and it just shattered everywhere, and everyone kind of looked around. I went into the back to put my stuff, and about half an hour later, the manager came up to me and said, "You remember when that coffee cup smashed?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he said that was a family member of Michael's, a very close family member of Michael's, and he saw you. And he just dropped his coffee cup, and he called me over and he said, "Please do not, I don't want to meet him. Like, I felt like I saw a ghost." And that was probably the first time in my life that I'd had one of those scenarios where people were like, "You know who you look like?" And from there, it actually kept snowballing. I got approached on a bus. Like, this guy said he was starting a new INXS tribute, and he says, "Excuse me, do you sing?" And I go, "Well, I do actually." He says, "You know who you look like?" And it didn't. I fought it for a long time. Like, I would cut. I had my hair shorter, so I grew my hair out. People go, "Oh, you grown your hair out. You know who you look like?" Like that. Okay, well, I'm going to straighten my hair. "Oh, you know who you look like?" "Oh, I'm going to dye my hair black. You know who you look like?" I went through a phase there where I remember I did essentially the hairstyle that Michael had from Elegantly Wasted. I had the black, and it was kind of more.
Really? Yeah.
Yeah. And event, I had a real chip on my shoulder, I think, for a little while, because I was like, no, I do my own music and all that. And then it dawned on me, you know, here's a man that has made such an incredible impact across the world. And I just started embracing it, you know, and allowing people to share their stories, because there's a lot of people that think that I've somehow done this on purpose, but it's genetics, I guess.
Yeah.
But it's allowed people to open up and express the way that his music and his legacy has touched them, which is pretty amazing. And it that happens whether I'm playing INXS songs or whether I'm playing my own music. Like, it happens all the time in the US when I'm playing my own music, which is a bit grittier and a bit heavier edged. But people will come up to me and go, "Man, I saw them, INXS come through, in 86 or whenever it was, they go, oh, I remember this tour or that tour. And they'll tell me where they were and what they were doing and what the show was like. And to me, that's one of the most beautiful things about music. Yeah.
Yeah.
Music has the power to capture a moment, and you can unlock that moment when you hear a certain note or a certain lyric.
Yeah. And I hear this from all the other INXS tribute acts as well, and bands out there. But, I can't wait to see you. I mean, I've seen all your videos and before I can't, and I loved all the cameo shots that you're doing when you're running onto stage and everything. But so you're kicking off this Friday. Now, unfortunately, this is going out a little bit late, so you would have done a few weeks before this one. You're going to be going all over the country. Is that right? You're going to be taking it. Are you going to be doing the Central Coast as well? You are, aren't you? Maybe I could get down there to see.
Yeah, we are. This is our most ambitious tour. Like, we came back, coming out of obviously the 2020, 2021, it was very difficult for live music. But coming out of that, we just decided, you know what, let's just take this as far as we can. And so we've created an entire show. We've looked at it as if INXS was still going today and had the technology that they had today, and if they were playing stadiums, what would they be doing? And I feel like, you look at, obviously you've got Rock and the Royals and you've got, the Wembley experience, but you look at stadium bands now and the video screens that they've got. So what we've done is we've created our own videos for each song that we play. So we're not taking their music videos or anything. We've created our own things to put on screens. So when we do our theater show, there's a massive screen behind us that is playing this video that we've created to do a full sensory experience. And we're trying to do that, Wembley in 2023 almost experience, if you will. There's a point where we break it down and we get the stools out, and Rob and I come out and we do a couple of songs acoustic, we have a bit of a chat with the audience, and then we ramp it back up, So we're trying to make this something that you cannot see this in a pub. You have to come out to a theater to be able to experience this. And we're going to every state and territory in Australia.
Fantastic. So is there something there for the old fans as well? Do you really pick out some real, old nuggets there from like Shabu Shabar or... Yeah, absolutely. So we have not only have we've got full 2 hours and 15 minutes straight through, right? And that includes, we've got an INXS medley. So what we've done is we've taken, I'm trying to think how many songs were there. I think there's 9 or 10 that we've packed into 12 minutes. So we've got all the songs we normally play in our set, and then there was a few songs where it's like, oh, well, we want to play this song. Oh, well, yeah, but what do we take out? So then you take a song out and you're like, oh, but I missed that song. So you put it back in, but you got to take something out. So we finally decided we're just going to take a bunch of the songs that were had been coming in and out, and some songs that we just couldn't find space for. Yeah.
And put them all together so that you can have more songs.
Yeah, I like it. I've not been to a show where someone's done that before, so that'll be really, really cool. Really cool. Oh, fantastic. I can't wait. Right, I'm going to get your ticket. Now, we are going to be giving away some tickets. If you are a patron to the show, you can actually go ahead, buy a ticket and show us your purchase and email it to us, and we will give you a free ticket. So for every ticket that you buy, you can get a free ticket if you are a patron. So that's fantastic. I can't wait. Definitely going to be coming to see you very, very soon, Dal. What else? Because we mentioned your mom earlier as well. We should, poor mom. You sort of like hoodwinked her in a way, didn't you? You changed your profile picture to this picture. Is that right?
Yes. So yeah, back in the days when they used to call it a doppelganger. So Facebook did this thing where they'd have doppelganger day, and they would say, they would say, okay, change your profile picture to somebody that you look like, who's your doppelganger, right? And I changed my profile photo to that photo. And my mum sent me a private message and was like, I didn't know you grew a beard. Not me. Doppelganger. Number what?
Poor mom. Poor mom. I must admit, when I was looking at your latest video, please tell me what it's called.
Akashic memory.
That's it. It's not easy for me to say that either. But yeah, you just look like Michael. And then I told a couple of my girlfriends, I went, can you just watch this video? And you need to calm me down because I'm about to interview him in a moment. So for me, well, big INXS fan and a big Michael fan. Thank you so much for coming on the show. And thank you so much for looking like Michael.
You can thank my mum and dad for that.
Yeah, thank you. I'd like to shake their hand. This has been really, really lovely meeting you. It must have been 2018 that I saw you. And then, you just disappeared. So I'm so glad that you're back on our shores and that you're going to be doing the rounds and that everybody else can get to see you too.
Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. All right, you take care.
I'm the healer.